We're going to be going over today how we can build a model airplane out of foam for a budget price. This foam specifically I was able to get for around $15, but for a 4x8 inch thick set of foam here from Home Depot. I know you can get it for cheaper other places, but we're going to start with this. So I've been able to cut it up. I had them cut it up into a couple different sections. The first three are approximately, what is this? I think 4 feet is what I did. So we have 3 cuts at 4 feet by 1 foot. So yeah, 4 feet this way, 1 foot this way, and that is going to make up our fuselage. Next one, we had to do a 1 foot of wing. So this is going to be our wing. This was 5 feet long. I'm going to leave all the measurements in the description. This one's 5 feet long. So we got a couple extra pieces, but those are the main parts, and then we'll be cutting out more as we go. But those are some of the ones you can have them cut out for you so they're straight and accurate. Alright, so unfortunately I didn't realize when I bought this foam specifically, there are creases down the middle. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there are some creases that are pre-cut so you can break this foam really easily. Unfortunately, I did not see that when I bought it. So if you can avoid buying foam with pre-creased parts and pre-cut parts, that'd be good. But regardless, it's stiff enough with 3 of them glued together that I'm going to go ahead and use them, and it should be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stagger it just a little though. That way all 3 creases aren't lined up together. I got one staggered in the middle, that way it brings it a little bit more strength. You guys do whatever you want with whatever you have, but the concept is we need to get at least 2.5 to 3 inches of thickness here. That way then we'll be able to cut out the fuselage and make some, we'll just make the fuselage out of this part. Okay, try to get the hot glue down the middle as much as possible, because you're going to be cutting out a lot of this. So make sure you got a good hot glue gun. Let's see how that does to start with. If you can get more on there before it dries, all the better. The lighting in here is not the best, but this will give us a general idea of how we're shaping out as far as the fuselage of the airplane. It's going to be a total of about 3 feet 2 inches. Now, again, I'm going to be giving us a little extra room in some areas so we can shave it down and sand it down. It's better to give yourself extra room up here, like where I'll come and curve in a little bit. I'll kind of give myself a window right here and right here, but it's better to give us room to shave off, because once you've sanded that down, you're not going to be able to put anything back. So give yourself some extra spacing on some of these parts, especially up in this area and in this area where we'll be shaving some of that out, and down here where we're making our firewall up front here where the prop's going to be. So those are some areas to kind of look out for. But as far as the rest of it, you should be able to get some pretty just straight cuts and be just fine. There's a few markings on here. The one is these dots right here were the first measurements. That's about where the wing is going to sit, in between there. And then let's see, I think that's all you guys need to know as far as that. You have about, if you can't see it, it's about 7 inches from the front here. Actually, I'm going to move this back. I was a little off. Okay, so take that back. It's about 5.5 inches from the nose of the plane. Remembering that we're going to have a prop about where the foam ends. That's why I did that, just to kind of give me a measurement. The engine will be, you know, about 2 inches, which is what I gave myself, roughly. About 2 to 3 inches, and then with the prop out front. So without the motor and prop and stuff, we have from the front of the firewall to where about the wing's going to sit, we're going to have about 5 to 5.5 inches. And then again from there to here, where the back of the wing's going to sit, that's about 15 inches. So this will be our start, and we'll go from here. See, the fuselage is pretty good. We're going to go through and do some more gluing. Looks like it got glued pretty good. Put a little more hot glue in there. But for the most part, that's pretty solid. Pretty rigid stuff. It ain't going to break. So now we're going to go through and sand. Here's our final cutout we saw in the garage there. I went ahead and drew kind of more of a general, you know, kind of the window curvature, what we're going to have to try to go for here. That, like I said, give yourself some extra. That way you can sand it down and mold it. That way you don't get stuck anywhere. Same with the back window. You can draw it when you finally get your cutout. Notice how I got close to the line, but I didn't get on it. Again, that's so we can sand it. And we went all the way back to the tail here. If we can look, same idea. Give yourself a little space. Now, on the top here, now we're going to do some drawings on the top. This is kind of what we're going to want our tail to look like. If we can get a better shot at that. We're going to draw 2 lines here, giving yourself about an inch or 1 block at the very end. And these are just guidelines. Again, these are lines you don't want to cross. When you're sanding, or if you want to cut, you can cut that if you want. To give yourself more shape, I'll probably just go ahead and sand it down, we'll see. But again, these black lines are all just guides. You don't want to go through them, you don't want to go onto them, just get right up next to them close when you're sanding. And this is really, we're going to keep the thickness of the plane basically through the whole thing. This might be the only cutting of width, I mean, that we're going to get rid of. We'll go ahead and once we get closer here to the nose, we'll kind of make the nose round, obviously, and sand that down. So I know I'm going to get questions what I just did or what I was using. This is, I'm not really sure. It came in a pack of my Dremels. What it is basically a little heat gun with a little knife attachment. So it heats up that bit on the knife and just... Okay, so here we have the fuselage in all its glory. And now, it's a little tall. I wish I could have maybe cut off a little bit more, made it a little shorter, but you know, for me it's not worth the hassle, so you guys can do that with yours if you want. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. It's not amazing, but it looks pretty good. I'm gonna carve out the inside a little bit more, and I'll put a board down in the bottom. Alright, so I cut my wing in half. And so I got 2 feet for one side of the wing, and I'm going to just hot glue this template I've made on either side of the wing, so I can use my wire cutter to cut it and use this template as a guide. So what I've gone ahead and done here is purchased a dowel rod, just a simple wooden lightweight rod that I'm going to use. It's kind of my skeleton here, give it some strength. Now, I know a lot of people use carbon fiber ones or aluminum ones. Remember, I'm just trying to be budget here. And with the type of flying I'm going to do with this plane, carbon fiber might be a little overkill for me, especially because I couldn't find a rod anywhere, and the ones I did find online were like 10, 15 bucks. So, I might be looking in the wrong spot, but this was only $1.50, $2 maybe, and the aluminum ones I can only find a 3-foot segment for about $10 to $12. So this was the budget option, and I feel like it's going to do just fine. So what I did is I carved out a groove here. I started by using a hot iron, my hot tool right here, and hot knife. Cut through, kind of cut out some basic shapes of where I wanted it. Did 2 lines and just kind of cut in between the 2 lines. Dug it out, and then I took about 6 inches of this and cut it off and wrapped it in sandpaper and just ran it along the groove, and you can tell that there's some burn marks still in there. I don't know if you can see that, but that worked out really well for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run hot glue down, glue it in there. So I did have to give this a little bit of a bend because my wing, when I cut it and then put it back together, I did just give it just an ever so slight bend. So I did soak this in water, give it a little bend, and I mean it's bent just ever so slightly, and that will do for me. Alright, so I have the general tail wing here, the design, some of the shapes and cutouts I want, as well as the tail fin. So far, this is about where we're at. Got the wing done and the fuselage done for the most part. Now ready for the tail. Take a little cut out of the fuselage here at the back and placed my tail wing on there, nice and flat. You want to try to get it about where the middle of your fuselage is going to be. Try to get it, flat as to where you want your plane to fly. So that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do to put this tail on is I've gotten a few sticks out of the drawer, shish kebab skewers. I'm going to drill holes and place them in here. Drill 2 holes through the end, that way it'll just give it a little bit more of a skeleton. Remember, I'm trying to do this on as much of a budget as possible, so these are laying around a house. If you want to do carbon fiber rods, by all means go ahead. So now what I'm going to do is, I feel like it's pretty lined up, but to make it perfectly straight, we're going to get the hot glue gun out. Set speed up, we'll use that. And we're going to put hot glue all along the bottom side of this, obviously. And we're going to press it down real quick and then get everything lined up exactly how you want it. So you notice the wing turned out really nice. How I cut these ailerons out, I was going to show you that on my, whatever that thing's called. Saw, stupid thing, I can't remember what it's called. What I did is obviously I didn't want to start cutting and then turn really quickly. So I just cut a small little rectangle out at the very front here, large enough so I could get in. Now I'm going to show you guys just so you know. So I just cut just like this, straight like this, and then I came about right here and cut a small little rectangle out, enough so I can get my blade, my wing in here and fit it inside the hole. I know I demonstrated up here, but so yeah, fit it inside this hole and then run it straight all the way along. And I stopped it, backed it out, and then cut that last little part with a hacksaw. That was the only way. I mean, there's a million ways you could do it, but that was the way that I did it. If you're, I don't know, I found it to be very easy, and it cut out really nice and really easy. So. Alright, just going to give you a couple shots of the plane here. It's looking pretty good. Happy I got that tail on there. I might do a little more sanding, give that right here a little bit more of a curve down to it. But wing looks good. Okay, here I am, about ready to start the covering process of my fuselage. What I've done is I've cut out some paper, which I believe to be about what I need to start the covering. And I'm just diluted Elmer's glue and paper. We're going to see how this works. Alright everyone, here we have the final of what was my airplane that I made for budget. I'm really happy with what I came out to have here, what the final product was. It costed me to build this plane, just obviously this is just basically the foam and paper, so you can do it around 10 bucks. You can do it for fairly cheap. And then obviously the wooden spar underneath, that was, you know, $1.50, some tape and stuff like that. I ended up cutting or using just the what was it? The coat hanger. I used a coat hanger to puncture holes for my rudder, so I can run a wire back there and have a rudder. I use the same coat hanger for my ailerons, and that's how I'm going to attach those. I'll just push these up onto here like so. And I'll run a little tape on the top and get that where I want. I'll probably wrap it in paper and get that looking pretty, but that's how the ailerons are going to work. And then I'll have a servo mount right here, and that's how that will work. And so for this build video, I'm done. I'm going to have another build video that's going to show all the electronics, the motor, and stuff like that. But as far as the plane, the functionality of the plane, and just the plane itself, this is it. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope it helps out. If you have any questions, comment in the description. I'll leave some dimensions and links and stuff like that that were helpful to me. But if you have any questions, I'll get back to you guys. Just feel free to comment. And hope you enjoyed playing here.